Hey, everybody, welcome to today's AMP session. Today, Chris Jansen is joining me, and we are going to be discussing how to share eXp with agents. So, Chris, welcome to AMP.
Thanks, Rob. Thanks for having us. Looking forward to this session because learn from my failures and some of my wins too would be my encouragement on today's session.
Yeah, and so I'll just kind of set the umbrella, and I've kind of started to use this bit of a framework in discussing some of the agents in my area that are with eXp. Um, we forget if you've been with eXp 12 months, 24 months, 36 months, something like that. We're kind of what I'm now calling on eXp Island, where we have freedom. We can do, like with as long as it's compliant, we can do so many things that you can't do at other places. And we kind of forget what it's like. And in talking to an agent that recently joined us, very micromanaged, very low commission splits, just a horrible experience. No leadership, no, just not an enjoyable thing. So, if you have been on EXP Island for a while, the reason that I wanted to talk about this today is because we have an opportunity to bring people across from wherever they are, whatever island they're on, to the freedom that we all experience here. So, Chris, tell us a little bit about your background. Some people won't know your story about coming to EXP at all. If you don't mind sharing that as a bit of a start.
Okay, so right back to the beginning of
Yeah,
my
just
career,
like
or
no, just you were at another brand without
yeah,
without discussing brands so much, but just you had a journey, and you are obviously here at EXP.
yeah. Well, obviously, I followed a traditional route from my real estate career to becoming a traditional business owner. That was what I thought, and many still think to this day is the only progression in our industry is to own an office and own a business. And I'd been there and done that for some 5 years, and I'll never go back there again. Let's just put it that way. I've created more abundance, more freedom, more autonomy, more genuine relationships of collaboration, and more wealth through moving my business to a cloud-based option, which is EXP Island, right?
Yeah.
But it's scared. It's a scary thing to see what's on the other side. I mean, you're just talking about before. Complacency is a killer, right? In health management, in business, in life, in relationships. And I was pretty complacent where I was. It wasn't until I ventured into the unknown on the other side, which is now what I know my life as EXP, that it opened my eyes to different avenues. And I guess that's one thing I'm going to encourage today is one of the things I see on EXP Island with existing members is many of us aren't really unlocking the full potential that's in front of us with this model because of complacency. So there's a few things I'm going to go through today, Rob, as just some dot points of if you want to attract, if you want to grow and you want to build a team and you want to unlock all the wealth pillars that are readily available to you, to everyone on this call with EXP, if I was starting today, these are the things that I would do to follow from day one. Um, but yeah, that's me in a nutshell, mate. The journey so
Cool.
far.
Well, I just want to we'll jump into that in a second, but I just want to make it clear for everyone that if you're at EXP as an agent, there's some things that are available to you that you might not know about, and you might not you it just might not be on your wheelhouse. Or it could have been that coming to EXP, you knew that you could build a team or that kind of a thing, and that was one of the driving factors. A couple of challenges that people get involved with is sometimes they get, and Chris, you'll probably talk about this. It's like, how trainers talk about commission breath. Sometimes people in their early stages of sharing about EXP, they get real, what we call EXPing on people.
Yeah.
Like it's
Yep.
too much. It's too much. But anyway, so we'll dive into that. But Chris, why don't we start off with some of the bullet points that you wanted to cover, and
Yeah.
then I'll add my 2 cents in, and my many mistakes that I've made.
Yeah, cool. I think the first one, it starts internally with yourself. Like, who are you and who's the person that you want to attract? Like, Rob, you talk about your avatar client. I know who my avatar client is, who I really want to do business with. Marco's on this call. He loves dealing with developers. It's a prickly space for me, right? I love my mum's, my dad's established housing. But we play to each other's strengths and we collaborate on deals together because Marco's stronger in that space than I am. But what I'm getting at is if you want to attract agents to your roster, to your team, you've got to set the benchmark of yourself and who you want to attract. So the example is, if you're a lazy agent, you're going to attract a lazy agent, right? If you want a good producing, high performing agent, well, you've got to set the tone. You have to set the standard. You've got to be the example. And I'm going to get to that in a moment about your A grade players and your B grade players to surround yourself with. But once you know implicitly who you are and the values and morals that you stand for within our model, you've got the foundation. The next step, Rob, that I see a lot of members and agents within our model go wrong, and I was guilty of charge to this in the first 12 months, is so many don't understand our model. They might join for one, maybe two reasons, but they don't understand all the options available within our model. And what might be important for me, let's say it's the commission split as why I joined eXp. But yeah, I'm talking to an agent who is 63 and wants to retire in the next 5 years. So for them, it's about an exit strategy. It's a laneway for retirement. So again, like for like, I'm probably not going to attract that agent because I only know one portion of the model, which is make as much money through the commission split as possible. Yeah, I'm talking to an agent. For them, it's about having a 5-10 year plan as an exit strategy. So to really unlock the full scope and potential of this model, you need to understand it. I mean, it's confidence sells, confidence attracts. It's a bit like when we go into a listing appraisal today and we get asked the question of what's the market doing? Oh, I don't know. We got a bit of a US election looming. Spring's coming up. It's probably a better time. How confident are you in what you're doing, in the ability of what you do? So
Or if you're a
first,
private treaty only agent and someone says, do you do auctions? We'd really like
yeah,
to use you, but we want to go to auction.
100%. So in the first 12 months, I didn't understand all the little nuances available within the XP model. So what I did is I self-taught myself. And there's so much content. Like you don't need to go through onboarding to understand our model inside out, right? You can watch so much content on YouTube of what's available, how to unlock the full potential of our model, but most importantly, to understand it. So when you get asked the question on the fly about our model, how many shares do I get if I introduce an agent? How many shares do I get, when an agent caps, like all this sort of stuff? You need to understand it. You got to be confident. And the only way to be confident is understand the model from front to back, back to front. That would be my first tip. From there, once you understand the model, you can then go in to shooting and retaining your own eXp Explain. Now, I found out when I first started, because I wanted to attract and grow a team, is I was getting asked a lot of the same questions by agents. And I thought, repetition, I just keep divulging and answering the same questions, going through the same information time and time again. It was getting brain numbing almost to the same, and I'm sure agents on this call right now can relate. You get the same buyer questions every weekend, every day. And sometimes you're like,
Why are they selling?
man,
Why are they
I should
selling?
just I should just record my response and hit play if I could. So what I did, once I knew the model confidently inside and out, I created an EXP explained version of myself explaining the model, right? Now that can just be shot on Zoom like this. It can be done on a camera, teleprompting, scripted. Heck, I've even seen people do it on a whiteboard and butcher's paper. Brent Gove of the likes does a great one on butcher's paper behind him explaining the model, keeping it really, really simple. But you got to have your own version of EXP explained somewhere, whether it's in YouTube, you're saving it there, it's free to save it on that platform, or whether you create a landing page like I've created. I drive a lot of traffic to my landing page that is very agent centric. Whatever you do, whether you're putting it on YouTube or if you're putting it on a landing page, make it about you. Authenticity is what people want in business, and it's what agents want, because at the end of the day, we all do business with people we know, like, and trust, right? So, sending somebody that's an agent that's talking to you about potentially partnering with eXp or seeing what we're doing, sending them to somebody else who's foreign in their content is going to disconnect with that authenticity of who you are. So they're my first two tips, Rob, that I would have, if I had my time again in the first 12 months when I got a lot of mistakes and I made a lot of things, I did a lot of things incorrectly, is understanding the model.
Yep.
Because I joined for two reasons, but those two reasons might be different for the next agent I'm talking to while they're looking to partner with our model. So understanding the model and all options. Then secondly is creating some content, which is your version of EXP. Explain. Put it on YouTube or create a really cost-effective landing page as I have, so that when I get the same repetitive questions from agents, a Mole, Marco, David, I've had these same questions from other industry agents. In fact, I had the same questions that you have right now. I'm going to send you to my landing page. Check out all the content that's on there. There is an EXP Explain version video that I've done myself because I understand and know the model implicitly. Check that video out. Over the next few days, I'm going to come back, follow up with you, make sure you've seen that video, and I'm going to answer any questions that are specific to you. So that would be my next tip. The next thing that I started doing probably really early on, really well, was befriending fellow agents. And I've said it in the past, break down these bullshit barrier rules between them and us. Okay. Because there is, if you fly the black flag, we fly the yellow flag. There's that indifference within our industry. So you've got to get friends on side with you, and the only way to do that is to be known, liked, trusted, and be their friends. So that would be something that I would recommend absolutely. Once you've got the foundations of knowing the model really well, you've got some content created. So if you get asked the questions, you're not on the back foot, you can send them to your relevant content that might answer a lot of their questions. But befriend them, really important. Rob, I know you're really good at that, mate,
I
particularly
I
people
just
love you in
think
your
that,
state.
yeah, I just think that it's really important to come come from a place. One of the things I love about EXP, when you get around the people that are positive and whatnot, there is such an abundance mindset. And that freaks people out when you
Yeah.
when you're thinking abundance. And I say to people so often, hey, EXP might not be for you. And it's almost the takeaway, like, what do you mean it might not be for me? Like, what? You know,
Yeah.
there's a couple of things that I would just highlight before I would even start the process of thinking about sharing or whatnot. Is I would Google EXP Agent Attraction Pledge. I would download that. I would print it off, and I would read it every day for a week. And that's the do's and don'ts of
Yeah.
what you're allowed to do in that space.
Yeah.
Secondly, I would be very, very clear on, if I'm talking to an agent, do they even qualify to come to EXP? Because there's no point in spending hours trying to show them the value of EXP if they don't fit because they're a commission only agent, but they don't earn enough. They are, whatever it might be, um, reasons why they don't. So if you're not sure what those qualifications are, reach out to your licensee. They'll be able to tell you what those qualifications are. So those are a couple of things. Um, Another couple of things is that we pride ourselves as salespeople at being very persuasive, right? And I would just say my great grandfather used to have a saying, which was passed down through my family, and I've shared it with my agents very too much, that a person convinced against their will is of the same opinion still. So
Yeah.
you cannot persuade someone to something that they don't already have an interest in.
Yep.
And I've seen this on live in person, and I've seen this on social media where EXP agents, in their enthusiasm and passion for what their experience at EXP, almost try and call out people. I've seen agents commenting on other people's posts. Oh, you should come to EXP because of whatever, and blah 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 blah. It's not the right format. It's not
Yeah.
it's not the right. You can't be persuasive. But what you can do, and this is as what Chris was saying, my thing is I really like to just learn about the people. So if I was having a conversation, I'd say, Chris, tell me the Chris Jansen story.
Mm. Yeah. I think
And that's
that's really important.
that's all I'd say.
Yeah. It's really important, I think. And the next point that I've got is it's not about the offering which comes from this place, right? It's not about the deal. And again, I got this wrong in the first 12 months. What? You're on 60%. Why would you be on 60% when you can have 75% with us, right? So don't question people. Don't make them look silly. People make a move because of pain points in their lives. Like I made a move because I was burnt out. I had enough. Partnerships, that's one reason why people make moves in relationships, both in business and personally, right? But, we all make moves for different reasons, whether it's financial, whether it's relationship breakdown, culture, burnout, whatever. That's what you got to focus on. And that's where you find the solution, right? It's not always about, well, we can give you 50%, 15% more on the first 100K, and then you're keeping 40% more there afterwards. It's not always about that. You got to find the trigger points. And that's why I say, like we pursue a potential listing, it's future business. It's the same with agent attraction. It's not about, why would you go to work for 60% today and join us today to have the opportunity to keep 100%? It's long-term nurturing and fostering relationship with an agent, much like a seller, so that when something does change and pivot in their life, they think of you, right? And you've just got to be there at that time. But it's really interesting, Rob, what you said about the MITRE income laws with commission-only agents, and obviously two ways you can come in as an independent contractor or a commission-only employee. For those on the call live and for those watching the recording, we unfortunately have to say no to as many agents as we can say yes. If not more, we have to say no because they don't, one, meet the right MITRE income laws based on the current license that they hold, unfortunately, which is a real challenge because we're an attraction model and we're a retention model too. But it's
And,
hard to attract when you've got to say no to as many opportunities, if not more, than what you can say yes to because of federal law.
and some of you will have noticed a couple of faces have disappeared from eXp over the last month or so. And it's purely because those agents weren't actively involved. They were probably in that COE category and they weren't actively involved in the sale of real estate. Because sometimes people think that eXp is just all about agent attraction. No, we're about the business of selling real estate. So,
Yeah.
that's the first and foremost scenario. So great bearing down on that as to what are the requirements. What else you got, Chris? Can you share us any you have already shared a few things, but
Yeah.
things that you've done wrong?
Yeah, EXP'd on people early on in the first 12 months. I was focusing on the deal rather than their why.
Yeah.
So, and Bjorn changed my psychology in this space purely through the 5 Ws. I applied it to my transactional business and I focused on the 5 Ws. Yet when I was talking to agents, it was about the commission, it was about the deal, it was about being cloud-based, it was about low cost, it's about, shares and equity and owning your career. I wasn't honing in on what's important to them.
Yeah.
So, all I did is I applied the 5 Ws from my transactional business into my growth business as well. And it changed the trajectory of it, absolutely. But focusing on their why and what's important to them. And sometimes that requires one to speak less and listen more. So when I was talking with agents, I would have them talk more and me talk less. Because the moment we start talking more, it becomes about the deal and we're selling ourselves and we're trying to be persuasive and we're not listening to what's important to them, their why. So really focus on that, guys. If you've got growth aspirations, listen more, talk less, their why, not yours.
And would it be fair to say, as you have matured in your understanding how to do this, that you are much more, you already, I suppose, answered this by saying you're using the 5 Ws, but you are using much more of a question-based approach?
Yeah, 100%. I think you have to be open to understanding. The best thing I got from you, Rob, when I now meet with an agent, I ask the question, where are you at, Rob? What's going on in your life?
Yeah.
And often when you ask that leading question, they'll divulge a lot of information. And you go, okay.
My wife's on the verge of packing her suitcase. We got no money in the bank. My last 4 deals fell over. I missed my last 6 appraisals. Okay, well, that's a different headspace then.
Yeah.
I've just been ranked number 6 in my state. I'm killing it. I've just sold 10.
Yep.
My boss has just bought me a Porsche, and it's great. Like that. Those are agents in two different headspaces.
Spot on. Yeah, I think that's really important. So yeah, open questions is the only way to lead to that. you know. And one of the things that I've learned over time too, to become more efficient, having coffee dates is not a big thing for me. I know for some of you that might work, but I find often, with coffee dates, Rob has a sip of his latte and coffee as we're talking about this. It was more about having a conversation, which is important, yes. But what I found I mean, we moved to being a cloud-based business because of all the digital evolution that's now readily available to us as agents, yet we were still going and having coffee dates, right? So I still do those, but I think what's really important is you still leverage from technology, because as you lead into conversation, they will ask you questions of, can you show me some of your marketing? Well, I'm at a cafe. I can't show you maybe the full scope of what I've got, but I can bring up on my phone maybe limitations on what we do. Or can you show me your CRM, or how you manage data? Or I just find when I do things online, um, over a coffee date, I can show a lot more too straight away. So if they say, how do you use your database? Bang, I can show you activity schedules. I can show you home pass on my desktop. I can share a screen with you, Rob, and I can show you how we're doing home pass mass bulk SMS templates. Like, just showing that. I found that's got a better engagement, because agents have felt like, wow, you're actually letting me into your house, your business, before I'm actually committing to you and maybe coming and partnering with your model.
And
Um,
that goes back to the sales philosophy of showing, not selling.
yeah, Yeah, and it comes down to exactly like you said earlier, Rob. I'll show you what we do and how we do it, whether you partner or not. That's up to you. If you do, great, I'm here for you. If you don't, I wish you well.
Yeah.
Whatever direction you go, I want you to do well and be. And I think that comes down to being liked, known, and trusted. Befriend people, like whether they join you or not. Don't get pissed off. Like I've got 8 agents on my hot list right now that over the last 3 years I thought they were joining me, and they didn't. Right? They went elsewhere. But guess what? I still have open conversations and dialogue with them, and we still chat and we still collaborate on different stuff, even though they're with a different brand or an office. Again, it doesn't mean because they didn't come to us straight away that it's no forever,
Yeah.
right? All I see it as, it's a no for now. The timing wasn't right for
Yeah.
our model for them, but that could change in 5 or 10 years' time. Um, the next thing that I'm just going to lead to from the back of that is, once you've got your foundations right, knowing the model implicitly, you've got your content shot there ready to go that you can direct people to. You've got a place where you can capture that content. YouTube is a great starting point. If you don't want a landing page or you don't want to spend money, just direct people there. A YouTube video, very easy to upload, and you can send somebody a URL link via SMS, email, DM, and check this out. But the main thing after that is, when you focus on their why, be consistent on what you do, whether that's through the content that you're putting out there daily, the messaging that you're putting out in your marketplace, right? It's the same as when you're wanting to attract sellers. What is the message that you're delivering out there? So last week we spoke about free appraisals in the industry. Well, they've been around forever. They've always been free. But does that really add value to a potential seller? It's the same here. If you've got growth aspirations, what's the message that you're putting out there every day? Like today, I did one on Sarah Jarmaine. Probably the easiest message you can put out there for agent growth is share someone else's story and their success. So today, my content message was about Sarah Jarmaine, how she came from working for somebody else in a traditional office and franchise. She's now got her own business. She's now building her own rent roll. She's now creating extra wealth outside of transactional real estate. So praising her and how proud I am of that journey and that story is an incredible message. But again, it's like prospecting, Rob. If you don't do it consistently and you don't do it daily, well, guess what? If you're not doing your transactional business, you're going to ride that roller coaster. It's the same with growth opportunities. You've always got to have irons in the fire.
Yeah. I'll just speak again to, if you go out to attract agents or be a talent attractor or whatever, and there's all kinds of different labels and stuff, whatever. If you go out to help people as your primary goal, not to help yourself. The old American motivational sales trainer Zig Ziglar has the world famous quote: "If you help enough people get what they want, you'll get everything you want." And so you really have to come from a place of giving, abundance, and agents are going to hear about eXp. You might spend some time talking to them, and then they might come to eXp through another agent. Fantastic. You
Yeah.
know, I was chatting to an agent a couple of weeks ago, you know, and someone came to eXp. They had spent time, energy, effort, educating that person. They came somewhere else and they were a bit bummed. And I said, it happens. It's fine. It's
Yeah, man.
good. Keep going.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and as well, when you are building your team, you the role of the sponsor is viewed very differently from different people, right? So
Hmm.
sponsors, so you would all know you've come to eXp, you have a sponsor, right? There are great expectations from some agents about the role their sponsor is going to play in their life, and some sponsors potentially overpromise what they're going to provide for people by linking with that particular person. Like you said, get to know eXp, get to know what it offers. eXp offers enough on its own. Like my sponsor left eXp 3 years ago. You know, like
Poor, poor Rob's an orphan.
I'm an orphan. Oh, woe is me. I can never do anything again. You know, like it's just
Yeah.
ridiculous. eXp is enough on its own. It has so much training, it has so much collaboration, it has so much, you know, whatever. And you know, just know that the role of the sponsor, and I think the reason I started to bring that up was because so I'm a licensee, so I've got other responsibilities within the company, but I have people reach out to me and they're let down because the person that brought them to eXp told them they were going to do all this stuff for them outside of eXp,
Yeah.
and then they never did it.
It's really important. I mean, would you do the same with a seller, Rob? Over promise and under deliver? Because
Yeah.
if that's the way you approach business, well, you're not going to survive. You might just survive, but you're definitely not going to thrive. It's really interesting. Like I had this conversation, and I see agents come into our model that don't even know that they're required to appoint a sponsor. So
Yeah.
I had a conversation with an agent 4 weeks ago that came in, and he didn't understand the you had to appoint a sponsor. So I explained to him. I said, "Look, Rob, one of the real great things about our model is that you do have to align yourself with a sponsor. So I've got a sponsor. Everybody that comes into eXp has to appoint a sponsor. And what I want to be really clear with you on is that that sponsor, once appointed, can never change. So what I would encourage you doing is reaching out who could be a potential sponsor for you and having a really honest conversation around expectations. Now, I just want to reiterate the role of the sponsor isn't there to micromanage and babysit you. Okay. They are running their own businesses too, right? So I understand they're busy listing and selling and building a team and all this other stuff that our incredible model offers. But what I believe is having a conversation of expectation up front before coming on board can prevent a lot of pain after the fact. And I said, it's okay for you to pick the phone up and ring any one of our agents in South Australia and have that conversation of expectation. Because if you come through the Join app and you appoint a sponsor, guess what conversation I'm going to have with you? Rob, did you have that conversation with sponsor A that you've now appointed? And if you didn't have a call, then I'm concerned that you could become an orphan agent without being upfront and having that conversation. And it was great because yesterday that agent who's about to come on board, I think spoke to Bjorn, spoke to Krish, and spoke to Nick Ravel, is going to appoint Nick. And he spoke to Krish, and Krish was really honest and said, I'm too busy right now. What a great outcome that is. Not just because Chris went, yeah, another agent, another person in my
Yeah.
downline. Chris actually said, mate, I'm too busy to take you on right now. Nick said, I've got the time. I can work and collaborate with you. So again, I confirmed it before they're submitting their join app today. They're going to appoint Nick Ravel. They've had that conversation of expectation because I'd hate to think that Chris just went yeah, and then disappeared because Chris is too busy, right? So it's really highly encouraged and highly respected of encouraging that conversation of expectation before someone joins. And do not overpromise and underdeliver. I've said no to agents myself. I've said
Yeah.
no to listings. I think when you're at a position in life and business, both attraction and transactional wise, when you can say no to business, that's often when you're getting it right because your moral compass is in the right place.
Yeah, absolutely. Chris, I just want to go back a little bit about I'm going to share with you a couple of sayings that I've got from some people that have been at eXp before our time and get
Yep.
your feedback on how you see that applying in our Australian context. So,
Sure.
um, and I'll probably stuff up. It was either Gene Fredericks or Rob Flick or Brent Gove. So these have been coming from those kind of things. Um, so you can never say the wrong thing to the right person. So a lot of people are fearful they're going to say the wrong thing
Hmm.
when sharing about EXP. The saying is you could never say the wrong thing to the right person. What are your thoughts?
Well, it's so true because if you don't come from a place from fear, like I know I'm going to make mistakes, Rob. I'm accepting of that. Like I'm not perfect. I actually love failures because some of my greatest wins and strengths in life have come from failures.
Yeah,
So I
because
don't.
you're like me. You've got a gold medal in the failure category.
Yeah, well, there's always opportunity in that though. But I think if you come from a place from fear, you always come from a place of shit, did I say the right thing or was did that upset the apple cart over here? Like sometimes I'll say what I think and feel, and it might piss people off and they might not agree with me, but I do genuinely I don't come from a place of fear. And I'm not saying that's right. It's not saying it's wrong, but
Yeah,
I think when you come from a place of fear, you live in the space of scarcity of saying what needs to be said to please someone, to coerce them, to persuade them. That's where I think you start going down that path when you come from that place.
yeah. The other thing that I wanted to talk about is people when you are talking to people, and this is where I was saying before, where sometimes people almost embarrass people in a public format, talking about EXP. So they're with brand whatever, and
Yeah.
this person is really pounding the EXP or waving the EXP flag in a public format. It kind of almost backs them into a corner in a way. But I think it's Gene Frederick talks about people have gates and they're either open or they're closed. And it's really kind of what we've talked about in other segments. Reading the play is to see
Yeah.
whether that person's gate is open or not. How would you take that in, and how would you tell whether someone's gate is open or not in
Well, you
in
can,
terms of sharing about EXP?
I'll give you a couple of examples. One, you can see what they're doing and how they're on socials actively or not. If they've got much stock that they're carrying or not is a good sign of an agent unhappy or struggling or maybe on the way out. Through to just simple things, Rob, like I'm buying property myself and I've been to open inspections and I've seen agents and I've seen everything that's out there. Like, and there's some agents that are really struggling. Like it's sad to see and hear some of the stories that I've heard whilst looking out there as an active buyer.
Yeah.
Um, so never judge, as they say,
Yep.
unless you're going through, But the main thing is, I think you just got to be an open book always, and it comes down to listening more, talking less. That's all it comes down to. Be liked, be known, be trusted. And I think one of the things that I've done really well with my growth aspirations from the stuff we've spoken about before is staying connected is really important. Like I use Messenger, Facebook as my prospecting tool with every agent I chat to. One, because I can see what our last conversation was about. So there's history.
So how does that
Two,
work? You don't know me. I mean, we might be familiar. You've seen the name on a signboard in your community or whatever. How does that work? How does that work?
well, when Bjorn and I started on this journey, kind of no one knew who EXP was. Like everyone looks at South Australia and think, oh, it's easier there because look how big you are and look how many agents you got. People forget that we had to start from somewhere and there was three of us.
Bjorn, and Mike going in the video, walking along with your EXP
Correct.
t-shirts. That's right. Yeah.
There was not one EXP signboard. There was not one EXP for
And you were
sale or site result.
300% larger than what I was in WA, and I was so jealous.
um, but yeah, it was hard early on, but we just had pure unconditional belief that, what we were setting out to achieve was the new way. But yeah, agents were watching us. So sometimes when you make a change, people watch you because unfortunately, small poppy syndrome in Australia, people expect you to fail. In fact, some want you to.
Yeah, they're hoping.
Absolutely. So use that time, whether somebody's watching you in a positive light or a negative light, as a reason to shine, show, and tell your story. So, often I would, when I talk to agents, Rob, I wouldn't approach them and go, hey, Rob, do you want 75% and 100 grand and then 100% afterwards? I was sharing my story and I was sharing our
So
agent
you're
story. And
befriending
that,
them on Facebook,
yeah,
and then you're sending them a message
Yeah, we'll just
on
get
Messenger.
chatting.
Yeah.
Like, oh, it could be random stuff too. Like, I might pick up some stuff on their marketing, and we might have some conversation around that. Hey, man, I love that piece. Can I share something similar with you? What I do, like collaborative, like approach it
Yeah.
from a
You're doing
collaborative
such a good
point of
job
view.
there, or that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, praise. I mean, as agents, we all love to be praised at the best of
And a
times,
lot of
but
them aren't getting praise where they are.
100%. 100%. But yeah, I think that's the main thing, Rob, is keeping in touch is really important. How are you supposed to build a relationship if you're not staying in touch with somebody? Some of my agents that have brought on other agents and talking to other agents right now, I love it when they come to me and say, hey, Chris, this agent hasn't sold a property for 90 days. I'm like, well, what should you do? Reach out to them, check in. How are they going? Like, is everything okay? Um, and I think that's just coming from a genuine place of care. That's if you care for people, you care in others' best interests, growth, attraction, all that will come to you naturally. But staying in contact, nurturing relationship continuously is really important. It's the same as prospecting.
And one final thing is, so you might have shared with someone about eXp, you might have done a live or a Zoom call with somebody or whatnot. I know at first when we were doing some of those calls, we didn't really know how to close that conversation out.
Yep.
Like you've gone, okay, and then you've got this, and you've got rev share, and you've got this, and commission splits, and blah 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 blah. And what I have picked up from, as you have, watching other people's materials in other places, is a great way to finish that conversation. You'll get a vibe whether they're with you or not, or they're just like looking at their watch the whole time. Um, is to say, of everything that I shared with you today, what did you like best?
Great question. Awesome question.
Because
Yeah.
it tells you what aspect of eXp is scratching their itch at the moment.
Yeah.
If they're on a 45% commission split, it might be the commission split that's attractive to them.
Yeah.
It might be they get no training where they are. What do you mean you get over 50 hours of training available fresh each week to the agent? That's amazing, or it
Yeah.
could be longevity play with shares and icon agent stuff. It could be some of that. But how do you kind of close out those conversations?
It's funny because we're in the industry of closing people, right? When there's a seller, it's like close, 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 close at every opportunity. So when I'm in a listing appointment, my closing approach is vastly different to that with agent attraction, right? In fact, I actually almost expect them not to join, right?
Yeah.
So that's a great question to lead into, Rob. I think when you're finishing up. So out of that, what's most important to you, Rob? What do you like most? What resonates with you? Get the information, get the answer. Then what I do is I've created some templates like I have in my prospecting business, as I
Yep.
say, Rob, it's been awesome to connect with you. I know there's a lot of information here that you've got to filter through. And I appreciate when you move your career and business, it's not a today decision, it's into the future decision. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to send you some information as a recap on our meeting today. I'm going to just bullet point those points you've mentioned to me as to what's important to you. And from here forward, are you cool if we just stay in touch from time to time just to check in on each other? Collaborate as industry agents so that we can both relish in this industry. Is that okay? So always just get permission to stay in touch. Then what I do is I have an email template that I send to them. I bullet point what's important to them, and then I have the link to my landing page, my eXp Explained. I do have in there, if and when the time should be right for you. If you want to join, here is the link to do so, but it's very softly down at the bottom of the email. It's more so the content up the top, what's important to them. And I do that, and I'll give you an example. I had a guy that I presented to 3 months ago ring me out of the blue, right? Didn't save his number, and he had questions, and I jumped into my Outlook. Bang, I could see what I'd sent him. Bang, straight into the. So it's a reference point for me as well to recall what was important to Rob on that call from 3 months ago. In Messenger, I can see I haven't spoken to Rob for 60 days. What did we talk about last time? Oh, yeah, he was talking about he was taking the family over to Hawaii for a family holiday. I might check in and, hey, Rob, how did that go? How was your trip to Hawaii? Are you back listing up a storm? How's transactional things going? Like it's all about that, the notes, the history. is just so much easier to have the conversation, because when you get to a point where people are ringing you forgetting who they are, it's a good problem to have, but you want to be personable. And the only way to do that is have recollection and some history on what you've sent them, what you've communicated, what conversations you've had with them.
Yeah, and you just jogged me there. People normally are, I'm ready to make a move right now. That's why I've had a conversation with you. And then
Yeah.
that kind of scares you because they're like, okay, so what's next? How do I sign up or get started or whatever? And you're like, whoa, settle down.
Yeah.
And then there's people, oh, yeah, it sounds okay. Not sure. I'll have to think about it a little bit. And then there's people like, well, I'm really happy where I am at the moment, or I've got 12 deals settling in the next 6 months, so I wouldn't make a move before then, whatnot. And so in your head, or I would do it, if you were Chris, you would have a very methodical. Me, I would have it almost methodical, but on paper, because I'm still analog in the world. But just okay. So like, I had an agent join me a year ago, right? And they saw something on Facebook, a post on Facebook. We'd been friends before. We'd worked in a brand somewhere else. They rang me out of the blue and said, "Hey, I think it's time we have a talk about eXp." I was
Trigger
like,
point.
oh, okay. So we had a conversation. I went to their home. So I did the opposite of what Chris just told you. Do the Zoom. I went to their home. I sat in their lounge room. I had a coffee, and we just chatted. What are the commissions like? What is this? Confirming bits and pieces, basically. And they said,
Mm.
right. They're very methodical. They're the Chris Jansen of the world. So they're planning out, right? They're like, okay, so I have this many settlements going up. Then I want to take a break, and then I'll be ready to sign up and it was about a 6 month process, right?
Perfect. Perfect.
Month 5, they ring me up, say, great, I want to get started now so that when my last settlement goes through, I'm ready to come across.
Yeah.
And I get everything sorted. So you just never know how that conversation's going and what that's going to, you have to be flexible.
Everyone's timing is different, Rob. And just to clarify on the coffee date, if it's your only opportunity to catch up with someone, go have the coffee. But what I'm saying is, if
Yeah.
you do the meet and greet and you have the nice chat, use it as a means of going, hey, Rob, this has been great to connect and catch up with you. What I'd love for our next meeting is come to my house, come into my
Yeah.
office, or let's jump on a Zoom so I can actually plug and play and show you this stuff.
Yeah.
Because you might be talking to other principals, and I'm sure a lot of principals will make some promises, but not everyone follows through with their promises and what they provide in those promises. I want to show you open book transparency, exactly what we do and how we do it.
Yeah.
And it's as simple as sometimes showing an agent how we process a listing. Here you go.
Yeah.
Instead of Cheryl on front desk, you now deal with Rachel virtually in the cloud. Bang,
Yeah.
this is how we do it. Contracts, instead of dealing with Sharon on front back desk with contracts, well, this is Emily Geary and this is how we. So when you explain that, it's not rocket science, but a lot of agents don't know outside of the customary norm, which is working in an office environment. Like, how does it work in the
Yeah.
cloud?
How
Like, they
how
don't
does it
understand.
work? Am I going to be
So
on my
just
own? Am I going to be? But
Yeah, 100%. But I think the timing factor is important, Rob. Like, I've brought agents in really quickly and it's been manic, it's been stressful, it's been rushed. And obviously, because they've left it to the last minute because of a relationship breakdown,
yeah,
whatever. Everything's just fallen by the heat. I always say to an agent, it's best if we can have a 30 to 60-day lead in with your onboarding to do it properly. Because as you can appreciate, we're shifting your whole business. This isn't a job. We've got to move your whole organization, your company over to us. And for us to do that properly and nurture you thoroughly and seamlessly through that stage, 30 to 60 days is a wonderful lead in and transitional period.
yeah, yeah. A couple of things as well. Not everyone is someone that you want to chase.
Yep.
And that's a broad statement, and I might should leave it there. But you know what I mean? Like there are people that are we have this saying, everyone will have seen this, your vibe attracts your tribe. I can meet with someone and normally within 30 to 60 seconds, I know whether they're my tribe, right? And
Brilliant.
that doesn't mean they shouldn't come to eXp. That just might mean I don't want to be their sponsor. You
Yep.
know, they're very needy. They don't really want to work. They're not coachable. They're the blame game. Every you know, they've been to 5 different agencies and every agency had an issue. It doesn't mean they can't make a success out of EXP and everyone can have fresh starts and all that. I'm just not sure that I want to go on that journey with them. That's all. And
Mate,
that's
100%.
okay. You know?
My last point is exactly that. Who is your tribe? I think that's really important. And you know, one of the greatest tips I got from Rich Tomasini on very early on is if you want to build the house, you got to get the foundations right. And Bjorn was on this session, so this will relate to him. And he said, you can grow so deep and so far and so wide in this model, but there's only so much you can control and there's only so much you can immerse yourself and surround yourself with. So what he did strategically early on, and so did I, is I focused on my A grade players, which is my level 1, and my B grade players, because beyond that, it's very hard to have as much influence
Tell us what that
and
means in a Chris Jansen world. What's an A grade player look like for you?
so for me, an A grade player is somebody who can sell 10 plus homes a year.
Yep.
Self-sufficient, happy to collaborate, doesn't need to ring me three, four
Knows the
times a day.
paperwork side of things, knows.
Yeah, yeah, they're skilled, they're experienced, they love the model because it's not just about volume and turnover. It's a balance. Generally, it's the same synergies that align with my values as well. But I went out there really focusing on my A grade players in my 10 frontline qualifying agents. I wanted agents that could do 100 grand plus sell 10 plus homes each a year. That
Yeah,
was my focus because once I knew I got that, the 10 wide in my level 1, I then wanted to reciprocate those guys and girls to achieve the same for their level 1, my level 2 being my B grade players. And, I've tried and tested the other way and I've got it wrong. I've said yes to people I shouldn't have said yes to. So I think it's really important, much like a seller. Nah, I'm not paying marketing. I want you to advertise it at my price, Rob. You will only do an open on Saturday at 1 p.m. every week. That's all. You know what I mean? It's like, sorry, I'm not the agent for you, Rob, with all
I
due respect.
totally hear that. You know, like I have said no to listings like that. You know, like that's really cool. Totally get that. That's your game plan. Perfect.
Yeah.
Call my competitor. That's that's where
I'll
they're
give
at.
you their number now. But it's the
Yeah,
same with attraction. No, it's okay to say no if it's not the right fit for your level 1, level 2, your A grade and B grade players. But it just means that they're not the right tribe for you. So maybe direct them to somebody else. And
yeah,
like I said, with the gentleman yesterday, you know, he knew me as corporate and goes, I want you. And I said, I cannot sponsor you.
yeah,
For one, I'm corporate, right? So you've come through corporate channels, unfortunately.
yeah,
I've got a no policy of any corporate leads cannot come in under me.
yeah,
2, I've got my own tribe. And as part of that, within my own values within my tribe, unfortunately, you don't fall into alignment with that tribe and those values that I have in my A grade and B grade players. However, what I'd suggest is reach out to these people, Bjorn, Nick Ravel of the likes, have a chat with them.
yeah,
So,
yeah. No, that's very good. Any final thoughts?
um, guys, girls, the strength in this model comes down to each and every one of us. Not one person is greater than the next that's on screen or watching this replay. When it comes to growth and attraction, please remove the word recruitment. I hate that. We're not a recruitment agency. We are an attraction business, both transactional and agent attraction, most certainly. Try and get that word into your vocabulary. Attraction, what you attract in life and business comes to you in abundance by what you put out. But strength in numbers. If we're all having these conversations and we're all following, I mean, this is probably one of the best growth sessions I've sat on, Rob, because it's at the heart of what we do. If we have 200 plus foot soldiers doing this each day, every week, this model, this business will become a lot easier for us. And I know that because when we started to get to my first agent, it was like pulling my own teeth out, right? My first 5 agents, like pulling my own teeth out. Once I got to 10, getting to 20 was a lot easier. Getting from 20 to 40 even became easier again.
Yeah,
So, the success of growth and attraction comes down to each and every one of us, and we will have to be contributing in this space. But this content today gives you incredible tips and suggestions that I didn't have when I first begun, which led to more failures than success.
Yeah, absolutely. Guys, thank you so much for joining us on this AMP session. We wish each and every one of you success as you share the eXp story with people. And again, I think Bjorn put it in the comments. Again, it is all about helping people. It's not about you. It's not about eXp so much. It's about being able to have eXp be the tool that fuels the future of Australian real estate agents. So, and you
Can
can
I
play
just
a
quickly
part
add
of that.
something, Rob?
Yeah, mate.
Yeah, mate.
I would say as well, don't overlook a newer agent. So somebody who's just gone and got their full license and they may not have transacted real estate. If they're driven, if they're motivated and they've got the right attitude about wanting to help others, that's if they've got the right core values, you can very easily and quickly, they can copy paste what we're doing as experienced agents. You can get them up to speed. Like, for example, take Nick Raval. Nick wasn't a real estate agent before he came and joined us, and Nick's doing great. He's doing great things, but he's got the right attitude. He's got the right drive. He listens, he asks for advice, you give him the advice, he implements the advice. I would, in some ways, in some instances, there's some agents in Adelaide that do like 200 sales a year, and I don't want them anywhere near my team. I
Yeah.
don't want them anywhere near eXp because they're cancerous, selfish.
Yeah, and you don't want that.
How can I explain it? They don't have the right vibe. So
Yeah.
sometimes it's not always about how big they are or how highly successful they are in transacting. Like Chris says, you've got your A's and B's, but the attitude is really important. So when I go looking at somebody joining my team, I'm like, do they have the right attitude that's going to fit in with the team? Are they going to be a team player, or are they going to be somebody who causes issues within the team, or things like that? Because I'd rather have a newer agent that I can train and mold with the right attitude and personality and the right belief system that aligns with my moral values than to have an agent that can do 200 sales a year, but it's a complete asshole. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%.
So there's a thin line there between
And that's 100%
between that avenue of things. So don't.
My framework as well is my two criteria, and I only have two really, is they have absolute personal integrity and they're coachable.
Yes.
That's it. I can
Spot
teach
on.
them anything
Spot on.
else. Like,
Yeah.
you know, like,
And the 10 transactions, sorry, I don't mean as in, you have to have sold 10 homes. If they've got those two things, they can do 10 in a year, right?
absolutely.
It's about the right person, as Bjorn said.
Absolutely.
So it's not just about the criteria. Have you sold 10 homes? I mean, that's great if you do, right? We all make revenue if that's the case.
That is the ideal candidate for to have as a team member. They're solid, they're working, they know what's going on, you know. And like in my state, you couldn't have your full license unless you've been in real estate for 2 years. So they already, if I have someone like that, they will have already come across with experience. So yeah, fantastic, guys. Go out, be awesome.
And having said that, just quickly, having said that once again, Rob, like I'm at the point where now I've said to myself, look, I'm really busy. I'm not going to take on someone new and fresh, but I will to talk to one that I've brought in, and
yeah, you'll attach them to your team, perhaps
like that,
some
because
way.
I'm at the point now where, but if only agent does take a lot more time than somebody like James Stacey, who just goes, oh yeah, plug me in, and you don't hear from him. You talk to him once a month and he just chats about the weather because he knows exactly what he's doing,
Yeah, that's
so
right.
You've got to think about your own time as an agent as well, to give as well.
Yeah, 100%.
All right, guys, look after yourselves. Have a fantastic week.
Thanks, legends. Have a great week. Cheers, Rob.
See ya. Bye.
See you guys.